殺してやる!
Takeru sprang forward with a powerful slash. Caught off guard, Akira retreated, knife passed millimeters from his face. Takeru's movements were nothing like before. Finally, freeing his knife from its sheath, Akira caught Takeru's second slash at the hilt. The shock numbed his arm to the bone. He parried, slid back a few paces, and righted himself. Instead of bracing the attack, Takeru stared at Akira with a quizzical tilt of his head.
こないだの勢いはどうしたよなあもっと楽しませてくれよ
The sudden increase in strength, there could be no doubt.
お前ラインを使ったのか
Takeru laughed.
ああ使ったよだからなんだよ今までなんてもったいないことしてたんだと思ってるくらいだぜこんなすげえ力が手に入るんならな
Takeru lunged at Akira again. Akira held his stance, bracing for the impact, but then he realized that Takeru's victor had diverged from what he expected.
どこ見てんだよ
Akira had read him wrong. Takeru suddenly dropped into a leg sweep. Unable to dodge, Akira toppled to the floor. Blood, wet and sticky, clung to his flesh. Something large and black rushed at his face, and he immediately raised his arms crossed to protect his head. Takeru's heavy boot exploded against his guard.
おらおらつまんねえんだよ
The kicks kept coming. His bones shrieked with each impact.
ちぇ素手で十分だななあお前もライン使ってみろよしたらきっと俺にやり返せるかもしれないぜまあ今ここで俺が殺しちまうけどな
Takeru stepped back and looked down at Akira with a sneer. Hoping to catch him by surprise, Akira swung a kick at his ankle.
うわまるで亀みてえだな止まって見えるぜお前の動き
Takeru dodged the blow with ease.
ラインなんか使ったらどうなるか分かってるのか
Akira had seen enough similar cases to know. Once a drug like that got a hold of you, there was nowhere to run. You might think you had the strength to beat it, But what was self-control in the face of such temptation? Like a pit of quicksand, it will devour you whole.
わかってるか。だと
A vein on Akira's temple twitched. His sneer had vanished entirely.
おい。もう一回言ってみろよ。なんだって？わかってるかって聞いたよな、今！
Akira groaned as Takiro kicked him hard in the side. He didn't know what to think. The shift in Takero's demeanor was too sudden and too drastic.
わかってるに決まってんだろ！俺の母親みてえになるんだよ！トラックに溺れて頭がおかしくなって周りから白い目で見られて幻に食い殺されて惨めに死んでいくんだよ！
Takero's halls echoed strangely off the blood-soaked walls. His mother. So that was why Takero had never used ring before, despite his desperate need to win. But then why?
てめえに何がわかるってんだよ！虐げられる奴の苦しみなんか考えたことすらねえだろ！
For some reason, Kizuka's face flickered through the back of his head.
俺はな、このままイルレも殺すぜ。勝てばラインが死ぬほど手に入るからな。ドラッグ漬けになりゃどのみち早死にだけどな。それでも気らしさえしなけりゃある程度は生きられる。その間にこの力で俺らを苦しめた奴ら全員ぶっ殺してやる。国の奴らもお前も皆殺しだ！
Takero threw another kick into Akira's guard. Akira barely felt the blow, but at this point he could barely feel his arms.
てめえそれでもチャンピオンかよ！あ？つまんねえんだよ！
For a second, his numb arm slipped out of place. He turned his head to protect his face, but another kick came in before he could get the block back in place. The blow shook Akira's brain like a rattle. His vision blurred and he nearly lost consciousness, but before he could, Takero grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Fingers clamped down on his windpipe. He scrabbled, trying to peel them away, but the grip was tight like ivy.
どうした？ほら、苦しいって言えよ。助けてくださいって言ってみろ。早く言わねえとこのまま握りつぶしちまうぞ。しろよ、命乞い。ほら。
Takero's voice seemed distant, like part of a dream.
すげえな、ラインってのはよ。今なら処刑人だって怖くないぜ。
The blood vessels in Akira's skull throbbed like they were about to rupture. As his vision narrowed, flashing red and white, he struggled to focus on Akira's face. Though the man wore a crazed smile, at the same time he appeared to be crying.
なんだよ、その哀れむような目は。
A muscle in his cheek spasmed furiously.
どいつもこいつもみんなそうだ。弱者を見る時の目っつったら哀れんでるか蔑んでるかのどっちかだ。同じ人間だと思っちゃいねえんだよ。
Takeru's thumb suddenly pressed down hard on his silent apple. He tried to cough, but nothing came out. It felt like his larynx would shatter.
ふざけんじゃねえぞ。強かったらてめえが一番偉いのかよ。弱い人間は生きる価値もないってのか。
Takeru's eyes may have been fixed on Akira, but he was seeing something else entirely. Shit. A numbing white fog blanketed Akira's thoughts. His fingers were losing strength. Their frantic scrabbling had slowed to a crawl. This is it. But just as he heard its footsteps approaching, Akira abruptly loosened his grip and leaned in close to his ear.
なあ、お前さ、男に突っ込まれたことあるか。
He whispered, his voice infused with a peculiar glee.
俺はあるぜ。金になる。普通のふりして男をいたぶるのが好きな変態野郎ってのは意外と多いからな。妻子持ちだったりな。けどなんとやっても最中吐きそうになった。わかるか、あの感覚。同じ男に組み敷かれて、芋虫みたいな指で体まさぐられて、生温かい舌が体中這い回って、女みたいに突っ込まれて犬みたいに腰振ってよ。
His wet tongue crawled slowly up Akira's jaw, toward his cheek.
プライドなんてもうぐちゃぐちゃに踏みつぶされる。惨めだぜ、最高にな。味わわせてやろうが、お前にも。
Images flashed through Akira's mind in vivid detail. A victorious fighter defiling his vanquished opponent. A chill of revulsion ran up his spine, almost as if it were happening to him. No, not as if. Takeru's tongue slid from Akira's cheek to his mouth, traced his lips, then pushed against them with a light, teasing pressure.
いや、メロ。
Although Takeru had eased his grip somewhat, he was still pressing down on Akira's windpipe. When Akira tried to turn his face away, those fingers dug in harder, drawing a choked sob from his throat.
バカ。
Akira felt a sharp pain on his lower lip and tasted blood. Akira must have beaten him. Takira sucked loudly at the spot, then pulled his face away.
やるわけねえだろ、気色悪い。マジになってんじゃねえよ。
The fingers around Akira's throat squeezed, sending a fresh wave of vertigo to batter him senseless.
じゃあな。
In his rapidly narrowing field of vision, Akira could see nothing but Takira's eyes, burning with a twisted and murderous joy. Pain and fear were distant now. His thoughts were sinking into a lake of red, becoming one with the blood-covered dance floor. Everything red. Just as Akira was about to lose consciousness, Takira suddenly let go of his throat. Akira crumpled to the floor, coughing violently. The sudden influx of oxygen was too much for his bruised windpipe. It felt like he was still being strangled, but he fought through the lingering pain and looked up. Takira was standing, arm outstretched, as if frozen in a strangling position. His fingers were twitching violently. Strange groans spilled from Takeru's lips as he took a single, unsteady step back. His eyes were open as wide as they would go, and his forehead glistened with a thick layer of sweat. Obviously, something was wrong. His pupils were unfocused, and the muscle of his face twitched as if he were fighting some inner demon. Suddenly, Takira threw his head back and screamed. His entire body was twitching now, not just his hands. Saliva dripped from the corners of his mouth, thrown wet to accommodate harsh, gasping breaths. Had something like this happened before? As he gaped in horror, part of Akira fumbled for the memory that had briefly grazed his mind. Even while paralyzed by convulsions, Takira still managed to fix his eyes on Akira. Their hate was undiminished. Seeing this, Akira grabbed his fallen knife and jumped to his feet, then made a break for the open door. He shook off Takira's grasping fingers, shot up the stairs, and burst onto the street. A crushing sound echoed from below. Not safe yet. He kept running. The scenery rust by in blur. He had no idea where he was going, but that could wait. This was no time for taking stock. His breaths were louder than usual. He gulped for air, trying to bring it under control. Each time, the crushing pain in his throat reminded him of what he had narrowly escaped. Hitting a dead end, he put his back to the wall and slid to the ground. His rigid breaths filled the crushing darkness of the alley. Takira dragged his feet ponderously forward, supporting himself with one hand against the wall. Every step was battle against brutal, ripping pain. This is what had filled him back there. In the club, a sudden, inexplicable agony that had erupted from his throat like molten rock, then set fire to every cell in his body. It had felt like his muscles were tearing themselves to ribbons, like his nerves and veins were burned to ash. That pain was still with him, even now. Yet despite the torment that wrecked his body, his senses remained terrifyingly clear. Thanks to rain. His body was light, free of burdens, free of everything but the sound of his own heart. He could taste the air, his enemy's scent. He knew which way Akira had gone. It was all his fault. All of it. It's his fault. The surge of pain almost brought him to his knees. His nails dug into the thick coating of dirt on the wall. Raising his head, he sniffed like a dog. This way. His blood-stained mouth formed a ghastly smile. It felt like he could chase Akira to the ends of the earth. He could see it clearly in his mind's eye. Those cool, composed features, the face of a man who had never known defeat, twisted in a wordless scream. That emotionless voice pleading for mercy while he writhed in the pool of his own blood. How will he react when Takira stomped his severed limbs into paste? The thought made all the hairs on his body stand with pleasure. As Takeru's laughter reached its peak, someone grabbed his shoulder hard from behind. Impossible. He hadn't sensed anyone there, even though his senses were now so acute as to track Akira by smell alone. He whirled, lasting out with the arm his assailant had grabbed. Nobody was going to interrupt his hunt and get away with it. But though his aim was true, the only sound he heard was a light smack as the person caught his fist with ease. No matter how he pushed or pulled, his enemy's strength held him fast. Shock and fear stabbed through him like a needle of ice. Akira looked up, face clammy with sweat. He knew this man. Where? The man's lip twitched. His fingers tightened around Takeru's fist like a vice. The tiny bones of his hands screamed out in distress. Takeru struggled to free himself, but it was like the man's grip had fused with his skin. How? Confusion raged in Takeru's skull. Red was supposed to have granted him superhuman strength. He had allowed him to make short work of that so-called lesser champion. But then how? Takeru roared, fighting back with every ounce of strength he possessed. No answer. A trickle of sweat touched his eye. His vision blurred. His arm muscles bulged on the brink of rupture. His blood boiled. His side flashed crimson. A horrible sound shook his body. Bones crunching, flesh tearing. Something hot and liquid ran down his arm. A wail surged from the back of his throat. The man had crushed Takeru's fist like an apple, right before his very eyes. Now free, he stumbled back until he hit the wall and slid to the ground. His left hand clutched his ruined fist, struggling in vain to hold it together. Fresh blood overflowed between his fingers. A shadow fell over him. The man was smiling. As Takeru watched, he licked the blood and gore from his hand. Takeru stared up at him, quaking with terror. He had realized that his rein-in-hand strength meant nothing here. His chest heaved rapidly, breath whistling in his throat. The man reached out and grabbed Takeru by the head. He was helpless to resist, so instead, he screamed. The man squeezed. A hideous crunch reverberated through his skull. He could feel the fingers sinking deeper, deeper. A ringing swelled to fill his ears, before every other sensation. His sister, Yukari, ran up to him as fast as her little feet would carry her. Her bright smile echoed the joy in her voice. What are you doing here, Yukari?
やだお兄ちゃん、何言ってるの？最初からここにいるじゃない。
You were...
ほら、お父さんとお母さんもいるよ。
He looked up. Sure enough, his mother and father were standing there. The last he'd seen of them, his mother had been strapped to a bed, and his father reduced to a lifeless husk. But now they were smiling.
お母さん帰ってきたんだよ。
Oh, she got better. What a relief.
お父さんも元気になったみたい。
Yukari looked down, blushing.
あとは、お兄ちゃんがいてくれれば、ゆかりもう何にもいらない。
Oh. But I haven't beaten Igura yet. I've gotta get rich so I can make you all happy.
何言ってるの？イルレはもう倒したじゃない。
What? All of a sudden, Takiro realized that Yukari's outstretched hands were full of green impulse. Many less scattered out her feet as well. I really did it? Then we'll never be hungry or sad again.
でも、
Yukari hung her head, face suddenly sorrowful. What's wrong? Aren't you happy? I'll buy you all the clothes and toys you want.
でもね、ゆかり、服もおもちゃもいらなかったの。お兄ちゃんがいてくれれば、それでよかったの。
But... What are you saying? I'm here now, aren't I? I came back to be with you. Tears spilled down Yukari's cheek. Her face was a pitiful sight. Hey, don't cry! What's the matter? I'll be with you always now. I'll protect you and Mom and Dad forever. So please, don't cry. The pressure rose. It felt like his eyeballs would burst from his skull. One last instant of all-consuming terror, and then darkness claimed him. A man walked quietly into the alley, now empty but for the wind. Take's corpse lay slumped against the wall. The man stopped and knelt beside it. His appearance was singular. Brown hair so light it was almost blonde, near transparent, white skin, pale blue eyes. He was the man who had given Take a ring. He laid his hand against the side of Takeru's bloody neck. There was no pulse, and his body was cold. Takeru's eyes were still open, in a rictus of fear. The man reached out and closed them gently, then stood and licked Takeru's blood from his fingertips. His face betrayed nothing, not pity, not tenderness. But as the taste blossomed on his tongue, the certainty blossomed with it. Accompanied by his bodyguards, the man stepped into the silence and sting. His masked face scowling in disgust. He covered his mouth with one hand and stepped forward into the blood. The fluid stained his white leather shoes, so ill-suited to this place.
まったくひどいな。ここまで跡形もないと美意識のかけらも感じられない。センスを疑う。
Frowning, he let out a grand sigh. After receiving word of a massacre at one of Igra's neutral zones, Arbitro had decided to inspect the scene in person.
一面血に塗られた世界だなんて見てみたくもなるじゃないか。まあ飛び入り参加の余興も観戦できたことだし、よしとするか。
He spread his arms wide, seeking his man's agreement. They all nodded at the exact same angle. While they had been searching the back of the club, two men had appeared and started fighting. Arbiter had watched the whole thing from the shadows. Judging by how that blue-haired man had moved, he was almost certainly a rain user. It seemed to have the fight well in hand, but then, all of a sudden, he experienced some sort of it. Was it rain? Arbiter had never heard of rain users suffering such a side effect. His opponent, the one with the attractive face, had been bleeding from his lip. Blood. Rain. Something nagged at his memories.
ああ、そうか。
Finally, it came to him. A thin smile curved his lips.
プロジェクトニコルか。
Behind his mask, his eyes narrowed sharply. Slowly, his shoulders began to quake, and from deep in his throat came laughter.